I walked into the courthouse hallway just as Marcus pressed his hand against the judge's office door. Through the gap I heard him say it. "Your Honor, my sister forged our mother's signature on that deed. She manipulated a dying woman." His voice dripped with fake concern, the kind he used when he wanted something. My legs locked. My breath caught. He slid a stack of papers across the judge's desk like he was handing over evidence in a murder trial. "This proves I'm the rightful owner of the family home." The judge frowned, flipping through his documents. Then she reached for a second envelope already sitting on her desk. She opened it slowly and pulled out the real deed. The one with my name. Her eyes lifted to Marcus. "Mr. Alden, this is dated 2 years before your mother's death. Care to explain?" Marcus's smirk flickered. My stomach twisted. He had actually done it. He had tried to steal everything. If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my revenge story from. I want to know how far it has traveled. My name is Alina Reeves, and that house was the only thing my mother left me. 5 minutes ago I thought my brother was just being difficult. Now I realized he had been planning this betrayal for months. The morning after Mom's funeral, my phone rang at 6 a.m. Marcus didn't ask how I slept. He didn't mention the service. He just demanded the keys to the house. "I need to start sorting things," he said. "Mom wanted me in charge of the estate." I told him the attorney had the keys and we'd meet next week to go through everything properly. He went silent for a beat. Then he hung up without another word. That was the first time my chest tightened. I should have trusted that feeling. Later that afternoon, I drove to the house to water Mom's plants. When I pulled into the driveway, something looked wrong. The lock on the front door was different. "Jamie." I tried my key. It didn't fit. Panic crawled up my throat. I called Marcus. No answer. Called the attorney. He sounded confused. "I never authorized a lock change," he said. Marcus had gone behind everyone's back and locked me out of my own mother's home. 2 days later, I returned to the house with a locksmith. Before we even reached the porch, I saw it. A bright orange notice taped to the front door. The words were printed in bold black letters. "Property ownership in dispute. Legal proceedings pending." My hands shook as I ripped it down. The document listed Marcus as the filing party. He claimed I had manipulated Mom during her illness. He said I isolated her from family. He accused me of forging documents to steal the house. None of it was true. But he had filed it with the county, and now it was public record. My neighbor, Mrs. Brennan, stepped onto her porch. She looked uncomfortable. "Alina, honey, I don't want to get involved, but I saw him here last week. He had someone with him. A man with a camera." My stomach dropped. "A camera?" She nodded. "They were filming the house. And you, when you came by to check the mail." Marcus wasn't just lying. He was building a case. And I had no idea how deep this went. That evening my Aunt Ruby called. She used her soft, concerned voice. The one that always meant she wanted something. "Alina, sweetheart, I heard about the situation with the house. This must be so hard for you." I didn't respond. Waited. "You know, your brother is just trying to honor your mother's wishes. She always said Marcus would take care of the property." My jaw clenched. "Mom never said that to me." Ruby sighed like I was being difficult. "Well, maybe she didn't want to hurt your feelings. But if you just let him have the house, we can avoid all this ugliness in court. I'd be happy to mediate." Felt sick. She wasn't calling to support me. She was calling to convince me to surrender. The next day I found out why. My cousin told me Marcus had visited Ruby 3 days earlier. He brought printed documents, rehearsed stories, and a sob story about how I had pushed him out of Mom's life. He had gotten to her first. And she believed him. Our family attorney, Mr. Langford, had handled Mom's affairs for 15 years. He knew her wishes. He knew her handwriting. He knew Marcus's history of borrowing money and never paying it back. So when he stopped returning my calls, I knew something was wrong. After a week of silence, I showed up at his office unannounced. The receptionist looked nervous when she saw me. "He's in a meeting right now." I sat down in the waiting room. "I'll wait." 30 minutes later, Langford finally came out. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Alina, this situation is more complicated than you realize. There are conflicting documents, and I can't take sides." I stared at him. "You've known me since I was 12. He shifted his weight. "I have to remain neutral." Then I heard it. A chair scraping across the floor inside his office. Someone else was in there. I leaned to the side and saw Marcus through the cracked door. He was sitting at Langford's desk, smiling. A week later, I went to Langford's office to pick up copies of Mom's will. The receptionist handed me an envelope without looking up. I didn't check it until I got to my car. When I opened it, my heart stopped. Inside were photocopies of documents I had never seen. Copies of Mom's signature on blank sheets. Practice sheets, maybe. And next to them, new signatures on property transfer forms. The handwriting was close but not perfect. The slant was wrong. The pressure was uneven. Someone had traced Mom's signature and practiced it. Then they used it on legal documents. I took photos of everything with my phone. Then I drove straight back to the office. The receptionist's face went pale when she saw me. "I gave you the wrong envelope," she whispered. "Please give it back." I handed it over. But I had already saved every page. Marcus wasn't just lying. He was manufacturing evidence. And someone in that office was helping him. I couldn't sleep that night. At 2 in the morning I got dressed and drove to the house. I didn't know what I was looking for. I just needed to see it. When I turned onto the street, I saw lights inside. My pulse spiked. Someone was in there. I parked down the block and walked closer. Through the window I saw Marcus. He wasn't alone. A man in a dark jacket stood next to him, holding some kind of scanner. They were going through Mom's desk, opening drawers, flipping through papers. They were looking for something. I ducked behind a tree when Marcus turned toward the window. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I nearly dropped it. A text from an unknown number. "They're looking for the box. Don't let them find it first." I stared at the message. My hands trembled. Someone else knew what Marcus was doing. And they were trying to help me. But I had no idea who they were. Or what box they were talking about. The next morning I remembered something Mom said during her last week. She had been weak, her voice barely a whisper. But she grabbed my hand and pulled me close. "If anything ever happens, check the places your brother never cared about." At the time, I thought she was confused from the medication. Now I understood. I drove to the house early before Marcus could show up. I went straight to Mom's bedroom. In the corner sat an old dresser she had kept since I was a kid. Marcus always made fun of it. He called it ugly and outdated. I pulled open the bottom drawer. It was locked. I used a hairpin to pop it open. Inside was a single envelope with my name written on the front in Mom's shaky handwriting. My throat tightened as I opened it. "Alina, your brother will try to take what is not his. Don't let him. The truth is hidden where he would never think to look." She had known. Months before she died, she knew Marcus would do this. And she had left me a clue. I brought the letter to my friend Zoe, the only person I trusted. She read it twice, her face growing darker each time. "Alina, look at the date." I glanced at the top of the letter. It was written the same week Marcus took Mom to sign papers at the bank. My stomach turned. She knew what he was planning. Zoe nodded. "And she tried to protect you." Then Zoe did something I didn't expect. She pulled out her laptop and opened an audio file from Mom's old phone. I had given Zoe the phone weeks ago to recover photos. "I found this buried in the deleted folder," Zoe said. She hit play. Marcus's voice filled the room. Loud, angry, threatening. "I'm getting that house, Mom. I don't care what you wrote in your will. I'll find a way." There was a long pause. Then Mom's weak voice. "You were always so selfish, Marcus." The recording ended. I sat frozen. He had threatened her. And she had recorded it. At a family lunch the following Sunday, Aunt Ruby acted like nothing was wrong. She smiled too much and kept refilling my glass. Halfway through the meal she leaned over and whispered, "You know, Marcus had to take out loans when your mother got sick. He was trying to help with her medical bills." I frowned. "What loans?" Her face shifted. She realized she had said too much. "Oh, just some personal loans. Nothing serious." "Pressed. In his name." She hesitated. "Well, I think he might have used your mother's name. But only because he had to." My blood went cold. Marcus had committed fraud. He had taken out loans in Mom's name while she was dying. And that's why he needed the house. He needed to sell it to cover the debt. Ruby's eyes darted to Marcus across the table. He was watching us. She quickly changed the subject and asked me to forget what she said. I didn't. I smiled and nodded. But I was already planning my next move. The next day I went to Mom's bank. The manager recognized me. I explained the situation carefully. First she hesitated. Then I mentioned the forged signatures and the suspicious loans. Her expression changed. "Wait here," she said. She disappeared into the back office. 20 minutes later, she returned with a folder. "Your mother flagged several transactions before she passed. She reported suspicious activity but never named a suspect." My heart pounded. "Can I see the records?" She slid the folder across the desk. Inside were withdrawal slips, loan applications, and access logs for Mom's safety deposit box. The dates lined up perfectly with Marcus's visits. "We also have security footage," the manager added quietly. "The person who accessed the box wasn't your mother." She turned her computer screen toward me. The footage showed Marcus entering the vault. He was alone. He opened Mom's box and removed documents. Then he left. I had him. This was proof. And it was all on camera. When I got home, a brown envelope was taped to my apartment door. There was no return address. No name. Just my first name scrawled on the front. Inside was a USB drive and a folded note. "He's planning something bigger. You need to see this." My hands shook as I plugged the drive into my laptop. The folder contained dozens of photos. Marcus meeting with a man outside a print shop. Marcus handing over cash. The same man entering a building with a sign that read, "Document Services." I zoomed in on one of the photos. The man was holding a folder with Mom's name on it. This wasn't just fraud. This was organized. Deliberate. Someone had been helping Marcus forge documents for months. And whoever sent me this drive wanted me to stop him. I saved everything to 3 separate backups. Then I emailed copies to Zoe. If something happened to me, someone else would know the truth. I wasn't going to let Marcus bury this. Not anymore. The first court hearing was scheduled for a Thursday morning. I arrived early with a folder of documents. Marcus showed up late, wearing a suit that looked too expensive for someone drowning in debt. The judge looked tired before we even started. She skimmed through the initial filings and sighed. "I'm going to need both parties to return with every relevant document. And I mean authentic, verifiable documents." Her eyes landed on Marcus when she said, "Authentic." His jaw tightened. After the hearing, the judge's clerk approached me in the hallway. She handed me a folded piece of paper and walked away without a word. I opened it in my car. "Be careful. He's not working alone." My stomach dropped. Who else was involved? And how far was Marcus willing to go? I looked up at the courthouse steps. Marcus was standing there talking on his phone. When he saw me watching, he smiled. It wasn't friendly. It was a warning. That night I went back to the house. I had to find the box Mom mentioned in her letter. I checked every closet, every cabinet, every drawer. Nothing. Then I remembered the crawl space. Mom hated going down there. She always said it was too dusty and dark. But Marcus never went down there either. He hated tight spaces. I grabbed a flashlight and climbed down the narrow ladder. The air was thick and stale. I crawled across the dirt floor, sweeping the light back and forth. Then I saw it. A loose board near the far corner. I pried it up with my hands. Underneath was a small metal box wrapped in duct tape. My heart hammered as I pulled it out. Inside were papers, receipts, legal drafts, handwritten notes in Mom's shaky writing, and a flash drive labeled, "If he tries." She had known. She had prepared for this exact moment. I clutched the box to my chest and climbed back up. Marcus thought he had won. But Mom had made sure I'd have the last word. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop as soon as I got home. A single video file appeared on the screen. Clicked it. Mom's face filled the screen. She was wearing her hospital gown, sitting in her bed. Her voice was weak but steady. "Alina, if Marcus is watching this, stop the video now." She paused, as if giving him a chance to obey. "If you're still here, then he's done something terrible." My throat tightened. She looked straight into the camera. "Your brother has been stealing from me for over a year. He took out loans in my name. He tried to pressure me into signing the house over to him. I refused. So I updated my will and hid the real deed where he'd never find it." Tears streamed down my face. She gave specific instructions. Where the deed was hidden, who to trust, who to avoid. And then she said the words that broke me. "Don't let him take what's yours, Alina. You've earned it." "He hasn't." The video ended. I sat in the dark, crying. She had protected me, even in death. Instead of submitting the evidence right away, I decided to wait. I let Marcus think he was winning. I let him file more documents. I let him lie to the judge. Meanwhile, I gathered everything. Timestamps, receipts, witness statements, bank records. The forged signature analysis from a handwriting expert confirmed what I already knew. These signatures were created recently, not by the deceased. I kept a detailed timeline of every lie Marcus told, every document he faked, every person he manipulated. I recorded phone calls. I saved text messages. I built a case so airtight that no judge could ignore it. Zoe asked me why I didn't just go to the police immediately. "Because I want him to bury himself," I said. "I want the judge to see exactly who he is." Marcus had spent months playing games. Now it was my turn, and I played to win. Marcus called a family meeting at Aunt Ruby's house. He invited everyone. Cousins I hadn't seen in years. Distant relatives who barely knew Mom. When I walked in, they all stared. Marcus stood at the head of the table like he was running a board meeting. "I called everyone here because Alina is trying to steal our family home," he began. His voice cracked with fake emotion. "Mom wanted me to have that house. She told me herself. But Alina manipulated her in her final days." I stayed silent. Let him talk. He slammed his fist on the table. "I have proof. Documents, statements, everything." Aunt Ruby nodded along. A few cousins whispered. Then I spoke. My voice was calm. "Teddy, if you're so confident, Marcus, then let's let the judge decide." His face went pale. The room fell silent. He had expected me to cry, beg, to break. Instead, I stood up and walked out. And for the first time, he looked scared. 2 days later, Mr. Langford called me. His voice shook. "Alina, I need to see you. But not at my office. Can we meet somewhere private?" We met at a coffee shop across town. He looked exhausted, guilty. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "Marcus threatened me. He said he'd sue me for malpractice, ruin my reputation, destroy my career." I didn't respond. I just waited. He slid a folder across the table. "This is your mother's real will. The one she signed 6 months before she died. Marcus tried to make me hide it." I opened the folder. Inside was the will. Notarized, witnessed, legal. Everything was left to me. The house, the accounts, everything. Langford's hands trembled. "He's been lying to everyone, Alina. And I let him because I was scared." I took the folder. "Thank you for telling me." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I should have done it sooner." I walked out of that coffee shop with the final piece of evidence I needed. Marcus's lies were about to collapse. A detective from the Financial Crimes Unit showed up at my office the following week. He introduced himself as Detective Ortiz. He asked if I knew anything about loans taken out in my mother's name. "My brother did it," I said without hesitation. Ortiz nodded. "We suspected as much. But he listed you as a co-signer on one of the applications." My stomach dropped. "What?" He showed me a document. My name was printed at the bottom. The signature wasn't mine, but it was close enough to fool someone who didn't know me. Marcus had forged my signature too. "If you have any evidence that can help us, now is the time to provide it," Ortiz said. I smiled for the first time in weeks. "I have everything you need." I handed him copies of the recordings, the bank statements, the video from Mom, and the forged signature analysis. His eyes widened as he flipped through the pages. "This is more than enough." He stood to leave, then paused. "Your brother is in serious trouble, Miss Reeves." Good, I thought. He deserves it. The night before the final court hearing, Marcus left me a voicemail. I almost deleted it without listening. But something made me press play. His voice was unhinged, shaking with rage. "You think you're so smart, Alina? You think you can just take everything from me? I'll destroy you. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are." He went on for 2 minutes, threatening me, cursing me, blaming me for ruining his life. When the voicemail ended, I sat in silence. Then I forwarded it to Detective Ortiz and to the judge's clerk. Within an hour, the clerk replied, "Bring everything tomorrow." I packed the metal box, the video, the will, and every piece of evidence into a sturdy folder. I barely slept that night. But when I woke up, I felt calm. Today, Marcus would finally face the truth. And I would be there to watch him fall. The courtroom was packed. Family members filled the benches. Marcus sat at his table, confident as ever. His lawyer whispered in his ear. Marcus smirked. The judge entered and we all stood. She took her seat and reviewed her notes. "Mr. Alden, you've submitted several documents claiming ownership of the property in question. Would you like to present your case?" Marcus stood. He launched into a rehearsed speech about how much he loved Mom, how he took care of her, how I had manipulated her. He held up his forged documents like they were evidence from heaven. The judge listened without expression. Then she turned to me. "Miss Reeves, your response." I stood slowly. I didn't say anything at first. I just walked to her bench and handed her the folder. Inside was everything. M's video, the real will, the bank records, the forged signature analysis, the recordings, the loans. Marcus's face drained of color. The judge opened the folder and began reading. The silence was deafening. The judge leaned back in her chair. She looked at Marcus for a long time. "Mr. Alden, would you care to explain why this document has a signature dated after your mother's death?" Marcus stammered. That must be a mistake. A clerical error." The judge wasn't buying it. "And what about these loan applications? They list your mother as the primary borrower, yet the bank has video footage of you accessing her safety deposit box without her present." His lawyer tried to interject, but the judge held up her hand. "I've seen enough." She pressed a button on her desk. A bailiff approached. "I'm ordering an immediate investigation into fraud, forgery, and financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult." Marcus shot to his feet. "This is insane. She's lying." The judge's voice was ice. "Sit down, Mr. Alden, or I'll hold you in contempt." He sat shaking. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. Aunt Ruby looked horrified. I felt Mom's presence beside me, warm and steady. Justice was finally being served. That afternoon, detectives arrived at Marcus's apartment. I wasn't there, but my cousin told me everything. They seized his computer, his files, and boxes of documents. They questioned him for hours. By evening, family members who had supported Marcus began calling me. Aunt Ruby cried on the phone. "I didn't know, Alina. I swear I didn't know he was lying. Others begged me to drop the case, to show mercy, to forgive him. But I stayed silent. This wasn't about revenge. This was about justice. Marcus had stolen from a dying woman. He had forged documents. He had manipulated everyone. And now, finally, he was facing consequences. The district attorney's office called me the next day. They were moving forward with charges. Fraud, forgery, exploitation. Marcus could face years in prison. When I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Not happiness, not relief, just peace. Mom had been right. The truth had set me free. The final hearing was brief. The judge reviewed everything one last time. Then she delivered her ruling. I find that Miss Alina Reeves is the sole legal owner of the property in question. All claims made by Mr. Marcus Alden are dismissed as fraudulent. She paused, looking directly at Marcus. Furthermore, I am referring this case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Mr. Alden, you are barred from contacting Miss Reeves or entering the property under penalty of arrest. Marcus sat frozen. His lawyer gathered papers quickly, trying to leave. But Marcus didn't move. He just stared at the floor. As I walked out of the courtroom, I felt lighter than I had in years. The house was mine. Legally. Officially. Forever. Outside the sun was shining. Called Zoe. It's over. She screamed with joy on the other end. Smiled. For the first time since Mom died, I felt like I could breathe again. Marcus had tried to take everything. But in the end he lost it all. And I won. 3 weeks later I moved into the house. I repainted the walls, cleaned out the old furniture Marcus had touched, and replaced the locks one final time. I planted Mom's favorite lilies in the front garden, just like she used to. I hung her wind chimes by the kitchen window. Every time the breeze blew, I heard her voice. Loving. Proud. Marcus's life fell apart quickly. Relatives stopped speaking to him. His debts crushed him. The investigation continued. He was alone just like he deserved. But I didn't gloat. I didn't call him. I didn't think about him. I just lived. I invited Zoe over for dinner. We sat on the porch, drinking tea and watching the sunset. You did it, she said. Smiled. No, Mom did it. She made sure I'd be okay. The house felt warm. Like home. And for the first time in a long time I felt at peace. Marcus had tried to steal my future. But Mom had given me the tools to fight back. And I had won. Not with anger. Not with hatred. But with truth. And that was the best revenge of all. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What does family mean to you? Please share below and subscribe to this channel for more stories like mine.